Hey, ladies, welcome to episode 16. Today, we're talking about listening. I mean, how many times have you said that word in your lifetime? Are you listening to me? Did you listen to what I said? Well, if you had just listened to me, you would have known. I'm sorry, I totally wasn't listening. What did you say? Let's dive in. Welcome to the Health, Life, and More for Women podcast with certified health and life coach, mom of four, and just all-around lover of all things 80s, your host, Jennifer D'Amato. Buckle in, let's get started. Hey, ladies. Okay, so yes, we're talking about listening today. And I have a feeling you have an idea of where you think I'm going to go with this. Because I'm a mom of four, as you know, and it can be a very challenging to get your kids to listen when you want them to listen. And you also can find them listening when you really don't need them listening. But I don't want to go dogging on kids today. I don't think any of my daughters listen to this podcast on the regular. However, they still would just be like, really, mom, really, are you going to use the podcast as an opportunity to talk about how we don't listen? The answer is simple. No, this has nothing to do with the kids. This has nothing to do with your spouse, who you also might think, okay, we could probably dedicate an entire episode to the frustrated feeling we have when we feel that our spouse is not listening to us, even if we've said it many, many, many times. They didn't hear it. Were they listening? Well, I'm going to tell you that this episode is not talking about your spouse, your partner, your loved one, your kids, anyone else not listening. This is for you. This is for me. This entire episode really is focused on us. Are we really listening? Now, honestly, I'm a really very busy, very highly productive person. I actually enjoy being busy, having lots of things going on. I just thrive in it. But when there's a lot going on and I have a lot of projects and moving pieces, it's hard to focus my attention on that one thing. I actually have to be very, very intentional to block out of my thoughts other things when I'm focused on the one task in front of me. And sometimes that task is pure listening. I mean, there are no distractions. Now, this could be when my kiddo comes to share about Pokemon, pray for me, y'all, or about a struggle going on with friends or something that they're just dealing with in their own heart. This listening could be when my husband comes home and it's been a rough day at work and he needs just that space to let it out. This listening, this focused listening can be when I'm on the phone with clients and they're sharing and they're digging deeper and they're needing someone's focused attention. Here's the thing. We all listen throughout the day, right? We listen throughout the day to a whole lot of stuff. Background noise within being one side of a conversation. But are we really listening, or are we doing other things? Are we thinking of other things? Is our attention somewhere else? Are we really listening? You don't even have to be distracted by external things, but you could be distracted and not focused on listening when you're trying to solve the problem. That is so easy to fall into that trap, especially as a parent. When your kids come to you with a problem, they come to you with a struggle, and you believe it's your job to come up with a solution. So instead of really just focusing on listening, you're listening while coming up with a solution, not really listening. It wasn't until I went through my certification program to become a health and life coach that I really understood the difference between focused listening and just listening as it was for me. Because as a coach, I need to be focused listening and pure listening, not coming up with a solution. It's my job to help guide my clients, but it is not my job to be their solution. What happens when I show up and I'm just focused on listening, I can help take them where they need to go and they find the solution. It wasn't available to them before. They didn't see it. They couldn't get there. And as a coach, that's my job to help guide them there. But I can't get there if I'm not really listening. And while they're talking, I'm thinking, oh, I should tell them this. I should give them this suggestion. I could tell them to look at this resource or suggest they try that. Then I'm not listening. Then I'm not really focused. And when I took that practice, what I'm doing with my clients into every single conversation I have, it was a complete game changer. I'm just listening. My one job when someone is sharing, when someone is speaking, when someone is talking to me, whether they're seeking advice or just giving information, my one job is to listen. Not to come up with anything, not a response, not a retort, not an argumentative sentence back or something. It's not my job. It's not my job. My job is to listen. Because when I listen, when I'm at 100% of listening, I can't give attention anywhere else. I'm maxed out. I'm at 100%. I'm not going to be distracted by the background noise, by my own thoughts, by ideas coming through, because I'm at a 100% listening activity. I can only do that. It is amazing what happens when we show up with 100% listening. I want you to try this. I want you to even take notice. Am I really listening when my kids share, my spouse shares, my friend share, my coworker, my employee, my employer, when they're speaking? Am I really listening? Or am I distracted by the ideas coming through, the background noise, the solution I'm trying to come up with? What if we valued the focused listening and the pause that it is required to come after before we respond? I actually believe as a people, we have a deep, deep desire to be heard. Whether it's something small and seemingly insignificant in the long term, or it's something really big and really heavy and weighted, we deeply desire to be heard. And if we're being heard, that requires the other person to truly be listening to what we're saying, to hearing the words that we're using, to possibly seeing our facial expressions, to hearing the tone in our voice, to hearing the inflection. If we're really listening, if we're focused on that, we can really hear people. And would you just agree that you desire that as well? You want to be heard. I know my third born, when she shares about Pokemon and evolutions and things that are beyond my intelligence, I cannot grasp them. When she shares that, I can see and hear the deep desire she has just to be heard, just to be heard for the stuff that she cares about. It would be the same for my husband, who shares about work or something that he's read that's really interesting. And there is a deep desire to be heard. Again, it might seem insignificant to you, right? It might seem really insignificant. I know Pokemon is insignificant to me. However, it's significant to her. And in this short term, she wants to be heard. The article or information that my husband shares, 5 years down the road may not be this super impactful piece of information, but at the time, he wanted to be heard. And you know what? I am the first one to admit I struggled with this for so many years, not for like a couple, not for a little while, for many, many years. I struggled with listening, to even acknowledging there was power in listening. I can actually remember this was early 20s, early married, and my husband just reminding me like I wasn't listening. And if I'm not listening, I'm not really hearing what someone is saying. I'm too busy thinking about what to say next. I get it. I've been exactly where you are. And I notice the older my children get, this teenage parenting thing, the longer I have been in relationship with my husband, I actually have to get better at listening because we fall into this trap that we think we already know. Oh, well, I've known you for 20 plus years. I've known you since you were born. I just know what you're thinking. It's not true. It's just not true at all. Hey, ladies, just taking a pause from the podcast to say, I'm just so grateful for you. I know this podcast has been an adventure for me, and you came along for the ride in 2019, and I'm so excited for what's to come in 2020. Season 2's almost here, y'all. We got one more episode after this. Hey, have you taken a moment to share it with your bestie? How about your mom or your neighbor or your sister? Thanks so much for getting this podcast out to all the women who are ready to live better. Now let's finish up talking about the power behind listening. So I believe we have a really great opportunity here to step back and ask ourselves, are we focused on listening? Are we hearing the people who are sharing with us? Or are we coming up with a solution? Are we distracted by our phone and noise in the background and other things going on? Or are we distracted by our own thoughts? Or are we really listening? Do I want to be the kind of woman who shows up using that power of listening? That I'm okay taking a pause after someone is seeking advice, seeking counsel, seeking coaching, taking the pause and then responding so that I know I've shown up 100% listening. I mean, can you just imagine a world where everyone felt heard? That doesn't mean, I have to agree or totally even understand what you're saying. You guys know I don't understand Pokemon and all the intricacies of it. Like, I just don't get it. It doesn't mean I have to understand. It doesn't mean I have to 100% agree. But I can 100% listen. Listen, I'm not one for resolutions, but I am one for setting goals. Goals that I can aim for, that I can achieve, that are measurable. And this is definitely on the top of my goal list every year. I want to be better every single year at listening. I do. It is a skill, and it's one that can be learned. You might think, well, I'm not really a good listener. Well, I would say that you're just not a good listener right now. You have not gotten that skill set yet, but it's available to you. So start practicing. You might find you start getting distracted. You're trying to listen. Your mind is floating. Just bring yourself back. Bring yourself back into the present, into what that person is sharing with you. Bring yourself back. You might have to remind yourself repeatedly at first. I did. I actually have to set up an environment where I'm not distracted. Maybe you do too. Maybe your phone can't be near you. You have to have all noises off. You need to sit, look eye to eye. If it's over the phone, you need to be in a quiet space where nothing's around you. Maybe you need to go hide in your closet for those conversations. But you can learn this skill. If it's something that you desire, let's set this as a goal as we enter into 2020. How about it? Who's in with me? You guys ready? We're going to hear everyone. That's what's going to happen here. And it's going to be amazing. All right, ladies, until we meet again. Hey, ladies, want to connect with me outside of this podcast? Come follow along on Instagram at Jennifer_Health Coach for Life. That's Jennifer_Health Coach, the number 4 life. You can also connect with me on Facebook. Just search Jennifer Coach, the number 4 life. I also want to help you take your health, both physical and mental, to the next level. I want you to feel empowered. I want you to reclaim your body's intuition. If that's for you and you're ready for support and accountability like you've never had before, then why not book a free consultation with me by visiting my website, www.healthcoachforlife.com. That's www.healthcoach4life.com/request session. I've also made it really easy by including a link in the show notes below. For any questions about the podcast or to submit a question or topic you would like discussed here, you can email me at jenniferdamatopodcast@gmail.com.